Welcome everyone. I'm Doug Brown. It's so good to have you here for our special program on mastering public speaking for lawyers. I've got Walt Hampton with me. Good morning, Walt.
Oh, so happy to be with you, Doug. This is such a favorite program that we've done, and a favorite promotional strategy, marketing strategy that we teach, and it's always fun to do this program with you. So thanks for putting it together for us.
Yeah, this is one of our favorite ways to grow a practice. You get great clients who pay you what you're worth. You don't have to spend money on ads. And when you're behind a microphone, whether it's like this or on a real live stage, you've got instant credibility, and we're going to show our audience how to use that wisely. I've been speaking since high school, and I've made every mistake imaginable, except I still find new ways to make new mistakes. But along the way, I've learned from the best. I've learned what to do when you fall flat and how to pick yourself up, and it's how I've built my six-figure coaching business, getting started right in the middle of the pandemic. Almost every client that I've gotten over the years has come from one way or another from speaking. So when I put this program together for us to do, I wanted to really share the playbook and show busy lawyers what to do, whether they're already speakers and they want to improve, they're curious about it and they haven't done it yet, or if they want to make it a regular strategy. And there's something there for everyone, even those of us who, even people who are introverts or extroverts, there's something for you. So I would, we see a lot of friends on the program. There is a chat feature, right? So people can drop I think there is a chat feature, isn't there?
There is a chat feature.
Okay, so go ahead and just let us know your years in practice and what level, what goals you have. It would help us tailor our conversation. And if you have one big idea, question, or fear that you have, go ahead and share that. We'd be happy to address it. So let's keep going.
Well, Doug, you said you'd been speaking since high school. I think we all know as an audience what you meant. I'm hoping that you started speaking before then, because
I did. I was speaking behind microphones.
Okay, yes. Good. Thank you for the clarification. So this is a really, really, really powerful business growing tool for all entrepreneurs and business professionals, but particularly for lawyers. Advertising right now is a very, very tricky thing across industries, across professions. AI has taken a huge dent out of the efficacy of a Google pay-per-click, searches in general. And so advertising and using advertising dollars can be very, very challenging right now. So from a marketing perspective, we think that the use of public speaking is a tremendously powerful, highly focused strategy that will, first and foremost, get you seen as an authority. It gets you seen above the competition, above the chatter. What's interesting is, as soon as you stand in front of a room, real or virtual, people think that you know something, whether you know something or not. People think that because, as the Seinfeld quote suggests, speaking for most people is a scary proposition. And so when you're standing in front of a room, you have immediate credibility and authority. And when you're in front of a room, real or virtual, you are by definition expanding your reach, expanding your network, and you're expanding it in a way that is a much more effective way than going out and doing Facebook advertising or LinkedIn advertising or on the side of a bus advertising, because what you're doing is you're actually creating connection, whether it be live on stage or whether it be by a virtual event such as this. You're actually making an interpersonal connection, and that is a much warmer potential lead than what we call cold traffic. And when you are on a stage and have that gravitas as an authority, and you're in front of people who want to hear your message, it is natural for people to reach out and to want to connect with you and to explore working together. And overall, it just enhances your reach and your reputation in the industry. So an extraordinarily worthwhile way to advance your practice and your business.
And the ROI for this is very clear, because you're going to attract clients who already trust your expertise. You're going to speak to them on an emotional level so they get who you really are. It's a much more time efficient way of building your authority. Especially, it's so hard to do cold outreach or LinkedIn outreach or a content strategy and be heard above the noise. But when you create content for your speech, then you get blog posts, you get LinkedIn articles, you get newsletters, you can repurpose part of it for a podcast, you get video clips. So the time that you spend doing what we're telling you about today is going to really help you in so many ways. It's not just for a speech. And then taking content you may already have, questions you may already be asked often, can be the good source for a speech. And the ROI is tremendous. So we're going to just show you what we're going to do today. Is we're going to talk a little bit about overcoming fear of public speaking anxiety, teach you how we've learned to build powerful messages, avoid some of the big mistakes, and importantly, get you booked on stages. And then once you're on a stage, and by stage, I mean a webinar, a podcast, a YouTube video. So think of stage really broadly, but how do you convert your listeners into people who interact with you and the right ones into clients? So that's what we're going to go through today. We're going to take your questions as we go. We're targeting about a total of an hour. And if we're rocking and rolling and you have more questions, we can answer those for you. So what are we afraid of?
Well, everything.
I know. No. We could talk for the rest of the day on that.
That's a very deep question, Doug.
I'm asking bad questions today. I'm sorry.
Thank you for being concerned. No, I was a trial lawyer for 25 years, and for most of my colleagues as trial lawyers, you could wind us up on a street corner and set us talking, and we're comfortable. But we're comfortable in a particular environment. And for those of us who are trial lawyers, it's a courtroom, an appellate court, appellate lawyers in front of a tribunal, perhaps. But it's interesting, when I first ventured out into the speaking stage, sharing workshops, keynotes, sharing breakouts, content on live stages, particularly, it was a different environment, and it was in fact anxiety provoking. And we worry about, how are we going to look? What are we going to forget? Are we going to trip over our own words? And so there is a performance anxiety in there, and that does go away. I know we're going to talk about how we get ready for a speech or a keynote or a workshop. There is performance anxiety. We worry that we're not going to connect with our audiences. We worry that perhaps we haven't done enough research, enough due diligence, that we're not ready to present the content. And some of us who are hypersensitive around these issues, we're concerned about the potential for crossing the boundaries of giving advice from the stage. And that's really just being particularly mindful that whatever we say, answering questions in particular, that we're not giving legal advice from the stage. It is the disclaimer that we all know how to give. But the fear is real, and it's important to remember and give yourself some grace around the anxiety stuff. One of the things I realized after I gave a keynote in front of a brand new Toastmasters chapter, of room full of very anxious new speakers, was that the opposite of anxiety or nerves is complacency, at least for me. And when I'm serving a room, when I'm showing up at a workshop like this, or I'm standing on stage. The last thing I want to be is complacent. And so I think a little bit of nerves actually gives you the edge that you need in order to rock the stage in a big way.
Yeah, I it is. And one of the ways I've discovered about how to move from this place of fear to this place of confidence is partially to let's say name and acknowledge. Oops, I turned my camera on inadvertently here. What the fear is, and get over our sense of, well, what I have to say won't matter. It'll be too simple. It'll be too complicated. But when we are really prepared and we know our material inside and out, then we have the flexibility to do what's most important when you're making a presentation, and that's being present and being engaged with your audience. You're going to make mistakes. We've already made some today. Maybe they were on purpose, maybe not. But when you focus on your audience and about them and about how to deliver your important message to them, then the mistakes, they don't care because they're not judging. So we want to repeat, and we want to take that energy, that nervous energy, and find a way to really use it for good. And when the constant exposure to this, the practicing and getting over the nerves, those are things that come with repetition. And I had one of my clients who said, I'm a really good public speaker. I haven't really prepared. I've engaged audiences, and I don't know, how's this going to help me? And I said, well, I get it. I believe you're that good. How much better would you be if you had the strategies to craft more powerful messages and practice, so you weren't just winging it? If you're already that good, how much better would you be? Mm-hmm. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. So you might be wondering a little bit of who are these guys, and so my job is helping law firm leaders simplify complexity, build a thriving firm. And I wasn't a natural speaker way back when I started. It wasn't that good. I have bombed on stages, forgotten my place, had to look at my notes. One time I was in the middle of a presentation. I had a 45-minute presentation, and I was done in 15 minutes and didn't know what to do.
I hate when that happens.
I hate when that happens, especially when your boss is in the audience and you're speaking at a big conference. So, after I came out of therapy after that, I got back on I came back on a stage because it's important work. So, if you're thinking that I could never do that, or this isn't for me, or I'm too introverted, or I've got too much going on, these are skills that can be learned. And when you learn to do it with confidence, it's just such a powerful thing. Seeing a face in a room or getting feedback on how one thing that you said made a huge difference to people.
Oh, you triggered something old and scary for me. I remember way back when, at the beginning, I was in front of a big Rotary gathering in Connecticut, which is both of our home bars. And I was trying out some new stuff speaking, and I got to the end of the presentation when everybody's supposed to clap, and I looked out into the audience, and everybody had their kind of mouth open as if they were watching a horrible fiery car crash. And I was like, oh, that apparently didn't work. They didn't like that. Finally, there was some very polite clapping, but we both survived those, and we grow through those things. As I shared with you, I've been a trial lawyer for decades before we started Summit Success back in 2007, 2008, a personal and professional development firm where we get to the privilege to help entrepreneurs and business professionals from all around the world grow and scale businesses. And it's such a gift and a privilege to be able to share this work with Doug over these many years. And so the work we do is helping folks grow and create and grow and scale businesses that actually light them up and give them the joy and the rewards that they deserve. And we're grateful to be able to spend this time with you today.
So go ahead.
No, this is me. My notes say
This is you. You go, man.
Thank you. So the speaker's journey is not unlike the journey into anything, whether it be learning to walk or learning to speak from the get-go, or learning to ride a bike. It starts from a place of not knowing, which is for those who haven't done things as an adult. Can be an uncomfortable place. We like to know. We like to think we're good at everything, and becoming a speaker using this tool does take some willingness to enter into not knowing, and to begin to study what the craft is, to master the body of information that you have, the content that you create. In a way that will be consumable and enjoyable by the people that you serve, reviewing and refining that, and then really working the craft of speaking. Speaking is an art and a craft unto itself, and it's fun, it's creative, it's iterative, and then you go out and you do it. I tell a lot of our clients, Doug, that it really is like bicycle riding. You can listen to webinars and master classes and watch YouTube videos, and actually do high-end programs like you and I have done, mastering the skill of public speaking. And yet it's really very much like bicycle riding until you get out and actually make the mistakes and bump your head and scrape your elbows. You really can't develop as a speaker, and that's okay. We all begin from that place. So getting out and delivering, and then lathering, rinsing, and repeating. And it's committing to the journey of the craft. And I can tell you, after doing it for now decades, as an adjunct first to the growing of my law practice, and now as part of this great work we do at Summit Success, there's so many rewards that come from speaking and teaching and podcasting and all of that. Yeah. And the big thing here the two of the big things I learned on the journey of mine is that in the work of developing your speech and what you want to talk about, the idea is it's a very iterative and repetitive process. So you have an idea, you develop it, you get to a point, and then you get into the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Everybody else has already talked about this. What do I have to offer? Or is it too much? And then you do a lot of refining of that thing that we call a big idea. And that's something kind of new for a lot of lawyers, especially really experienced ones. But then there's this idea of rehearsing. So you've practiced, but rehearsing is where you put yourself in kind of a live situation, and you actually, stand it up and put the speech on its feet. And that's a really important thing to do. And I think that the thing that I was most surprised about when I went and did the what I call speaker school was how to craft and the foundation of really your big idea. What is this powerful thing that solves a big problem? And Doug, let me just, I'm watching, I know you're in the middle of things, so excuse me, but I see Christina popped up with a message, and I think it's related to building powerful messages. And Christina, you would not be alone in worrying about that. And I think about 5,000 years ago, Ecclesiastes said there's nothing new under the sun. And that's true. I mean, there are original ideas. There is original work. What is always true, though, Christina, is that the work through you is original, which is to say that the way you express your ideas, the way you show up in the world, your energy signature, your persona is you. And one of the things that all entrepreneurs have a hard time doing, particularly lawyers, is actually embracing the uniqueness of ourselves, rather than trying to fit into some type of cookie cutter. And so when you show up the people in your audience are going to hear what you share through your voice. And there are going to be people in that audience who can only hear your message through your voice. They may have heard the same thing a dozen times from a dozen different speakers. And all of a sudden, when you show up, Christina, they're going to hear it through you in your way, and it's going to land in the most powerful and effective way that it ever has for them. So, number one, you're not alone in that worry. And number two, so long as you embrace the fact that you show up uniquely in the world with your own energy signature, your message is going to come across in a really powerful and effective way. I hope that helps.
Yeah, and I had that. I mean, the question was questioning the originality of your own material and the statement. And when I was developing my big idea of what I wanted to speak about, and I thought, well, there's millions of, well, not millions, but there's countless leadership books published every single year, and countless courses, and people have addressed these things before. So I had that same thing of, who am I to address things that have been addressed by other people who are, more famous and whatever. And I heard that kind of advice that Walt just gave and said, well, there are people in the world that you were meant to serve who need to hear it from you. Mm-hmm. And your take on it, delivered in your style to the people you were meant to serve, that's the originality that's needed. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes you could say something the same way as someone else, but it's not really the same way. And sometimes when you get stuck there, that's a little bit of imposter syndrome, coming up. I love the work of Simon Sinek, and in his book, Start With Why, in his TED Talk, How Great Leaders Inspire Action, he talked about the power of the words and the emotion in Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech. And, we all know it as the I Have a Dream speech, but he says, would we have remembered the I Have a Plan speech? And I love that. And we talk about the same things, but it doesn't stop me from putting my voice out in the world. And Christina, it shouldn't stop you from putting your voice out in the world. So ultimately, when we speak, we're trying to drive some sort of transformation for our audience, some sort of emotional outcome that gives them what they want. And this is what they really want, not necessarily what you sell. So if you're an estate planning lawyer, typical estate planning lawyers will go out and sell wills, trusts, estates, powers of attorney, and nobody wants that. They want the transformation that gives them, like control when they can't speak for themselves, protecting their daughter against their future ex-son-in-law. That's the transformation they want. So when we stay focused on the transformation that someone gets, that anchors, our speech. So if there's I got interference. Okay, is that? I think I'm being very gesticulating, and my audio, is that better, Walt? Did I solve that now?
Yes.
Okay. That's what happens in live programs. So the big idea is the core message that drives everything. So what shift do you want your audience to walk away with? And the most powerful messages are simple, clear, and emotionally relevant. The I Have a Dream speech. And it has to be relevant to meet the audience where they are. That unless they see themselves in it, unless they see why should I care about it, then they won't connect with your idea. And so when you look at your relevance and you're building your big idea, and I actually created a handout, a bonus resource of walking you through exactly how to do this. Asking yourself the question, well, what's this big idea? What will happen in their world if they adopt your big idea, if they endorse it? And what will happen if they don't adopt it or endorse it? And that raises the stakes. So with your big idea and your relevance, then you get into kind of the idea of, well, how would you structure this? Walt and I are both have been students of Michael and Amy Port and heroic public speaking. And one of the things I remember from their training was if they can't follow what you're doing, they won't remember it. So there are frameworks for structuring your speech that are proven to build your content in a way that leads them on the journey that you want them to take.
I love that. Could I just,
Yeah.
I'm watching our clocks. I want to stay inside our framework, but I was thinking about a time when I was asked by the Law Society of Ireland to come to Dublin to do a program in front of 600 folks in their amphitheater up there at the law school. And it was last minute. Somebody had canceled. And so I had no idea what I was going to say. And I used a tried and true structure to begin my preparation and to structure it, which I did on the train going up to Dublin over 5 hours. So I built an entire thing from scratch using a simple structure. And the simple structure that I use is, as a trial lawyer, my trial advocacy teacher at Cornell said, start with your closing argument. So I started with my closing. What was I driving toward? Your big idea? What was that takeaway that I wanted my audience to have? And then I love using a frame of three. The great Steve Jobs would start almost every presentation he ever did with I have three things to tell you today, or three stories to share with you today. His wonderful Stanford commencement address is a wonderful example of that. And the audience, when you start that with your audience, they say, "Oh my God, thank God I can get through three," and they have a roadmap then to follow it. So three things. I had the wonderful opportunity to study years ago with the great Les Brown, one of the great motivational speakers. He said, never make a point without a story. So the 3 points tied to 3 relevant stories, and then the lead in. So the introduction, the 3 points, and the conclusion. Very simple frame that you can build and that you can remember on the fly. Now, the funny follow-up to the Dublin story is I got really, I was in the flow of this thing. I got through my first 2 points, and I got to the third, and I couldn't remember it. I had to run and look at my notes, and everybody lived and everybody laughed, and it was still fun. But it's an easy frame to work with and to play with and to remember.
And that structure is critical so that you can flow and remember it, and it's comfortable and it makes sense as a story, so that you can not be in your head about trying to remember, but be connecting with the audience when you're presenting. Because that's really the job, is to connect with the audience about the big idea. And when you've practiced this enough and you're confident enough in your flow and your structure, then you're not going to be in your head thinking about how do I make the next point. You're going to be able to make eye contact and make your stories relatable. Let's kind of cover a little bit of the nuts and bolts, Walt.
Yes. You want to give me my nuts and bolts? There you are.
Yeah, there you are.
Awesome. So, regardless of whether you're having an argument with a teenager, or you're working with a client, or you're doing a presentation from stage, it's really important to ask the question, what's the outcome I really want here? Maybe in the first example first of arguing with a teenager, but what is the outcome that I want for this presentation, for this podcast, for this workshop? What is the outcome that I want? And with that, you can then begin to enter into how you want to create the structure, what the points are, what the stories are that you're doing. So there are different ways we speak. We speak on podcasts, and those are interviews, and often conversations and as a way to convey particular content or value to an audience. Or we might be in front of a community center audience as an estate planning lawyer or a real estate lawyer, in which, you know, in the latter case, they're new home buyers or potential new home buyers, and they want your talk is the 7 deadly sins that new home buyers make and how to avoid them. And so that would be informational types of stuff. Or you may be standing up and speaking in front of a lobbying group or in front of a congressional hearing, and what you are sharing is in the nature of persuasion. So understanding what your audience is and what your outcome is critically important place to start. And on the other side, your podcast listeners, your congressional subcommittee or your people sitting in the library audience, who are they and what do they need? But I'm going to add one other question here. What do they want? It's axiomatic that we often have to present or sell people what they want before they'll allow us to give them what they need. And so who is the audience and what do they need and what do they want? And ultimately, can we solve the problem that they came to listen to us to solve? Because everything from taking your car into the shop to going to the dentist to going to the estate planning lawyer or the trial lawyer is always about problem and solution. So what problem are you going to solve? So these are kind of the details behind the meta structure that Doug created for you as to the building of a powerful message.
Yes, and we always have to focus on what is the specific problem that they are thinking about.
Yes,
that keeps them up at night, and talk to that, because our speaking isn't about us, it's about them. So, you know, what is the big idea, the promise of that idea, and what is their worldview on that? You know, when I'm going to give a speech, even if it's to a bar association, I'm spending time talking with the organizer about, tell me about your audience. And I'm trying to get curious about how they view the world, and how can I speak to them in a language that is the language that they use, not the language that I might use. And what are the rewards that they get from that? So picking up on our estate planning, if you are, I noticed that somebody's in trust in estates, corporate immigration, a few of our folks. But if you're in estate planning, you know, what are they really concerned about? Well, first, they're afraid. They're afraid of death or disability. They probably don't want to make hard decisions that might divide the family. They may just put it off. They might be confused about the process. And, you know, so what big idea could you get through to them? Maybe it isn't about documents, it's about making it simple. But it's, what is it that makes you unique and your message? So, and, you know, if I just pull back the curtain, for us, our big idea today is that public speaking is one of the most powerful ways lawyers can build their practice with ideal clients. Another is that everybody can do it with the right message and framework and practice. And the promise of our presentation is you'll leave with a clear framework to get started or improve how you speak. And underneath that curtain is, if you adopt the idea, if you don't adopt the idea, you can still get on a stage. You might be able to wing it. People might say you're a great speaker, but you might wonder, why doesn't the phone ring? Or you might confuse your audience about a really big idea, or maybe you're not really helping your credibility because you got up and you talked, but they can't remember the thing you needed them to remember. So if you do follow this structure, then this is a good promise, right? Greater income, more clients, and you can use these skills in every single conversation, because the truth friends, is that you are on a stage or presenting all the time, even if you're in a one-on-one meeting with a new potential client. These ideas, these frameworks work. And Walt, I wanted to talk. Maybe you can share. You did it so beautifully when you first explained the idea of the FEPS values, or the framework of how to really connect with people, because that was really helpful for me in developing and thinking about how does my audience view the world.
Well, at any given point in time, people want a particular big result. And, for many of us who are lawyers who are out using the speaking strategy on stage, it's for us to get more money. But let's just say we're commercial lawyers or business lawyers, and we're doing something at a chamber of commerce, which is a wonderful venue to be in front of as somebody building a practice or developing other practice areas, getting out in front of a big chamber and sharing ideas. Our audience members will have a big thing they want to take away from. And let's just say, again, it's money. They want to make more money. But money is just part of the equation, maybe the primary outcome. But there are also first level benefits and second level benefits. A business that's making more money can hire more people, having an impact in the community. A business that's making more money can be more generous to the community. A business owner who is enjoying greater peace of mind around finances will have more time and bandwidth for their family, for their friends, for their children, for their grandchildren. And so there are ripples, secondary and tertiary ripples that come from the primary outcome that we do that create a rich package of benefits.
Mm-hmm. So that's the benefits. We can also focus on mistakes that have been made, because we talked about kind of fear at the beginning. What are some of the most common things that can take an otherwise good speech or speaker and derail it?
This is you, dude.
This is me. Okay. So
this is live speaking in real time.
Live speaking and collaboration in real time. So the week opening is about the impact that you're making, and you don't make the mistake of believing. The mistake is believing that your speech starts when you walk on stage and you're introduced. That's not when it starts. It starts the moment you enter the venue. You enter the room. It's how you interact and how you show up. It's your conversations with people in advance of the program. And then when you start the program, you want to start with a strong hook, a strong opening that draws them in. It's often said that if you don't get somebody you have to get somebody in the first 10 seconds to get the next minute of attention. So what's a strong opening that is authentic and captures their attention? And that's often a very important, one of the most important parts of your speech. The second is really trying to imitate or be someone else. And, when I first started speaking, there would be, I'm going to be in speaker voice and I'm going to be performing. And there is an element of performance. But the most important thing is just to be authentic and be yourself. That's what people want. They don't want someone who separates themselves and is just a clone of someone else. But they want to see who that real person is on stage, just to be yourself. And then I think the other part of it is getting hung up on say reading a script, or God forbid reading your slides. You want to know your content and the big idea, and you don't want to have too much on your slides, and you don't want to read what's in a script. And how many of us in the legal profession, right, we've gone to a CLE and you see a speaker up there and they're going to talk in their monotone about their slides and their concept for the next 15 minutes or 30 minutes. And you don't have them. So it's not about reading. It's about bringing your passion and your enthusiasm to the stage, because that's why people buy. People buy and make decisions to hire lawyers based first on emotion. And so that's your job, is to connect with the audience.
I love that. Let's just go back. I'll take us back there because I wanted to layer in two things. There is death by PowerPoint. Death by PowerPoint is a real fatal injury. I attended back in the day a development, one of those ones we go to the Bar Association annual meetings where they tell you about all the horrific things that have gone wrong in disciplinary proceedings. And there was these PowerPoint slides, and everybody was asleep by about 15 minutes in because there were just these dense PowerPoint slides. The more you can not use slides, friends, the more intriguing your presentation will be. I'm not saying don't have them, but the lighter your slides, the less loaded they are, the more effective your presentation will be. And the other thing, I mentioned this just briefly, we as human beings, we learn through story. When we're just doing information dumps, and Lisa has this wonderful comment, the idea about being transformational versus transactional. I would add to that it's about being relational as opposed to purely informational, because when you're illustrating your stuff with good stories, that's the things that people remember. So the mistakes that I have seen, and I'm remembering back to a program a number of years ago down at Mohegan Sun, in which I was doing a big breakout presentation. The keynoter was a very well-known keynote speaker. He had been paid a whole lot of money. He was not a lawyer. This was a CADC conference. He was not a lawyer. He was, I won't give any other identifying detail around him other than to say that he was a prominent keynoter, high energy. He paced back and forth at this rapid rate, and he kept on losing his way in his slides, and he went way over time. And by that, I meant he went into our lunch hour, which started making people crazy. And so the way we show up on stage, our presence, the energy we bring, the connection that we make, the rapport that we create with our audience. These are all really critically important elements and pitfalls for the unwary.
Yeah, I was at a bar executives conference, and there was a national author came in to talk about her book that could have been really relevant if she had done anything to know anything about her audience. And in about 2 minutes, she lost the whole room because it was clear she didn't take the time to understand who we are and to apply her content to the things that we cared about. So it really is knowing that audience and making that connection. And stories are how we learn. Let's see what's next.
That's me.
We want to get into booking stages too, but the virtual is such a huge piece right now.
This is me. Don't take it from me. I want little pieces of
sorry.
So number one, do not have your cat on your keyboard with the tail facing the screen. I had that yesterday from somebody on the other side of after COVID, after Zoom came to be a thing. I think we all know what the mistakes are. But when we're doing presentations, particularly when we're getting, I will routinely do lunch and learns for law firms virtually from where I am right now in the my own home office here in New Hampshire. I can do them all over the world, but it's a professional gig. And if you're getting paid for it, it's, even a more professional gig. And so being aware of what your background is, how your background reflects your brand, how your audio is. And there can be little things, transparency. I sent Doug a little private message 20 minutes ago that his audio was crackly. I'm on a headset myself. I've had my own team message me in the middle of a presentation saying, stop waving your arms, your audio's getting crackly. Lighting, good professional lighting, so it looks like you're not either blown out highlight wise or sitting in the dark. But there's lots of little tips and tricks and tweaks that you can make to create a really powerful environment so that you can do this work wherever you are in the world.
And the rules of connection and everything else, are the same. It's just the format is different.
Yes.
And also one of the virtual presenting things is if you are asked to do a program, get on the program 15 to 20 minutes early and make sure your audio and your video and all that stuff works. Don't jump on 2 minutes in advance, because I'll tell you, those last 15 minutes that you're waiting to go live go really quickly, and I guarantee you there's something that will go wrong. So don't be rolling in, and don't come in hot off of another program. Give yourself time to get centered and be ready to present, so that you can be fully present in your program. So whenever I'm doing one of these virtual things, I block out the hour before, just to make sure that I can be ready and be in the right headspace to have the conversation and not be, coming off of 14 other things. Booked on stage. Is this mine or yours?
This is yours.
Okay.
You made these beautiful notes for me, dude.
I did. Well, attention is an interesting thing. I have a whole program about that now. And so you get interested, you get excited. So the point here is you can create your own stage. There are countless speaking platforms. Obviously, there's conferences, there's webinars. We're lawyers, so offering to teach a CLE or be on a panel for a CLE or do a podcast. The stages are everywhere. So when you think about your big idea and the audience you're trying to get to, and then you want to think about, well, where do those people gather? So if you're a lawyer and you get referrals through other lawyers, then people gather at bar associations, at specialty bar associations, at a national and legal level. But where do they gather? And they have conferences, they have associations, there are webinars. In the legal space, for instance, there are companies that are producing CLEs, and they're always looking for speakers. There are podcasts. If you have a topic, a lawyer who is a guitar player, there's some podcast out there for guitar playing lawyers. So find the niche of the podcast, listen to shows, and then they're always looking for speakers. Obviously, CLEs, business group, chambers of commerce, Rotaries are tremendous training opportunities. And Walt's told me the story many times. Some of his biggest clients have come from Rotary speeches with just a few people in the room.
Yes. So
you can create your own opportunities, and you don't have to start big, start small. When the comedians like Seinfeld are out and you see them on giant stages, that's not the first time they told that joke or did that set. They practiced it. They did it in small venues, and they refined it so they were ready for the big stage. So don't go from zero to a big stage. You don't have to. So what we put together for you is some of the bonus resources so that you can take some of these and accelerate what you're trying to do. So a bio template, some of the pitch email scripts we're going to share, how to develop your big idea checklist. So if you go to the link, which is, I can put that in the chat when I let go of the wire from my microphone, so I don't scratch.
Don't try this at home, friends.
and how to convert. So that will just automatically send you that stuff. So I think we want to jump right ahead to, maybe I already covered some of this. I think I did. The where do they gather, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So,
I do want to just land the point that you made that it's okay to start small. It's okay to do small Rotary gigs, small chamber gigs, small lunch and learn gigs. I mean, it's okay to start small. In fact, it will feel as if the bar is lower and the cost of making errors is lower. Wherever you begin is perfect, and just give yourself a lot of grace as you lean into this. But all of these things, the industry associations, the chambers, the podcasts, CLEs, webinar hosts, I would add Rotaries, BNIs, Kiwanis, Lions Club, libraries, another place for some practice areas, are wonderful places to connect with your potential clients.
yes, 100%. Okay. So this one is how to go ahead and get booked. This one's mine, right? Or is this
Yes. No. So my notes
Okay.
say it's yours.
Okay, good. So you've got a topic. You want to figure out where do I go get booked? Well, you want to find the decision maker, the event organizer, who is the key contact. You can use your networking conversations, to go do that. And you want to have a compelling pitch for them. And I'm looking for that pitch in my notes. And the pitch is, we have an email template that's part of the bonuses I'll share with you. But it might start with an email of a talk for your club, and it might be just introducing the big idea that you have because it's in service to the audience. So we want to focus on the mission, vision, and values of that organization that's presenting, and the transformation that you can deliver for that audience, not necessarily your credentials, but your audience. And then the most important thing to getting booked on a stage is to follow up, because they're not going to respond to your first email. They might not respond to your second. So staying in touch with them and using a good follow-up strategy, which Walt is part of our 3 marketing strategies challenge that so many lawyers have in finding clients, is just doing the follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to follow up. And then once you've gotten that booking, you want to be the speaker that they love working with. So you are clarifying details, you're preparing thoroughly, you're making, you're achieving what their deadlines are. And that's essential, so that they'll invite you back.
Yes. Q&A. That's me. And why I'm doing this, Doug, Patricia asked if you could drop in the...
Yes, I saw that note. I'm going to do that right now.
Good. So it's always important to have some format for Q&A. The research is interesting. The evidence suggests, ladies and gentlemen, that 20% of your audience will have questions and will want to follow up in some way. And so, whether you do it in a rolling way, the way we're doing here, or whether you have a Q&A time at the end, that's purely stylistic and up to you and how you want to structure your talk. But it's important to have the opportunity to answer people's questions, because they do have them. And when you answer and engage, it's the opportunity to deepen your relationship with these people. And the people who are asking questions have a much higher likelihood of coming up to you afterwards, after you've done your presentation, and talk about, can I make an appointment, book a consultation? Can we follow up in some way? And so having the opportunity is really important. Here's what's true. On any given topic, there are not an infinite number of questions. There is a finite number of questions. And the more you understand what that finite body of questions is, the readier you can be. Yes, we will always have surprises. And after all of these decades of speaking, I can still be blindsided by questions I will not have anticipated. That's okay. Keeps it fresh. But there's a finite set of questions that people will ask, and if you've developed your answers, it'll just be a natural give and take, a natural flow. In the medical profession, it has been shown that a new patient coming in to share what they have to share with their physician will be interrupted by their physician within 15 seconds of that intake. Lawyers are probably in the same category. We know the answers to questions before people even ask them. We need to slow our internal roll so that people are feeling heard, feeling connected with, allow people to answer their question, ask their questions, and then keep your answer concise and to the point, so you can keep the Q&A moving strongly. And like I said about speaking, using examples, case studies, case examples, stories, help land the point in a Q&A. It's best not to end your presentation with your Q&A. We always like to come back and reprise the takeaway and that send out that, in trial lawyer parlance, what our closing argument is. It's axiomatic. We're not giving legal advice from stage. We can do that disclaimer. And perhaps the most challenging thing in any audience is to handle the Q&A folks who may get out of hand with trying to hog the microphone or whatever. And that's not hard either. It could just be, hey, I want to honor everyone's time here. I'm going to stay afterwards if you want to come up and see me afterwards, but let's hear from someone else. So lots of ways to handle the room. You'll learn what the best way is for you. But again, just be present and be in service, and you'll do just fine.
Yes. So I want to, one, if you have questions now, you can go ahead and please ask them in the chat. So many of us will get speeches, but now we want to figure out how to make the phone ring. So you give a speech like we provided a lot of information that people are going to get, nuggets from it. There needs to be a call to action at the end. And the call to action isn't hire me, because one, if you're on a stage and you don't want to just be doing an ad. So there is a call to action. So what's the next clear step for interested audience members? Give them an easy way to contact you, like a QR code and some sort of value-added offer and a follow-up system. And so we've kind of illustrated that here today, because ultimately for you to turn your speaking into a client opportunity, they have to get to know you, who you are, they have to like you and trust you. And that's the only way you can get them to pick up the phone or to email. So that's why when we talk about these topics, there's always bonus resources. I happen to use a QR code and a link. Walt taught me the old-fashioned clipboard 1.0 method. If you're in a live group, and that's literally a piece of paper with a clipboard and you pass it around, so that people can get a resource that can go into more detail than you could go into in that kind of speech. And
you've demonstrated that right there with including your QR code, our QR code.
Our QR code.
Yeah. And suspending the fourth wall here, friends, this is exactly what Doug is talking about. That, there will be a number of you who may want to follow up. And whether that be simply getting additional resources, information, which we're happy to provide you for, or whether it's connecting further, which I know Doug will make that invitation to you as well. But it's in service to your audience to offer the opportunity to follow up with you.
That's right. And one of the things that I love to do at the end of each presentation and is to say, one, we've given you tangible tools you can go and start using, and the bonus resources will be tremendously helpful. And if there is something specific that you're working on, in your case, working on your big idea, or I've been speaking and how to convert, or whatever it is, I reserve a certain number of spots on my calendar for a speaking or strategy consult, each month. And so this is the call to action. You don't have to call, but if it's making myself available, no obligation, just a conversation, because there might be things you think of later. And so this is a great way to end a program. It's not the end because we got a closing thought for you. But this is such a fulfilling strategy. It is such an effective strategy that, I can't recommend it enough. And even though we've been doing this for a year, there are things that we learn. And we have found that being more authentic and some of the unplanned mistakes of scratchy microphones and for me forgetting who's supposed to be talking about what, that it's real, folks. And what people want from lawyers is real. And that's essential. Walt, you have any thoughts to close out our time together?
Well, I think in this environment where there is so much not real, there is so much noise, there's so much shrill in the marketing space, we're inundated with AI and with messaging. When you can get in front of another human being, when you can get in front of a group of human beings as someone in service, a real person in service to a group of individuals, sharing stories, sharing information, that will really set you apart in the marketplace, and it will serve a lot of people, make a big impact, and help bring you the rich rewards you deserve in this important work that we get to do. So we encourage you to go out and get on the bike and lean into the speaking strategy. And if we can serve and support you in any way in that, please circle back to Doug or to me, and we would be happy to serve and support you in that way. We wish you a wonderful rest of the day and a great rest of the week, and we are so grateful for each and every one of you. Thank you for being with us.